But when did you know that the songs you were writing were actually pretty good?
Then I went to college for like 2 weeks and dropped out, and I was like, I want to be a singer.
It was an interesting time. It was such an interesting time.
From spending his formative years inside an attic and recording some of his most personal songs to date, to performing for hundreds of people, and then thousands, to now being announced as the opening act for SZA's upcoming tour, receiving a Grammy nomination for Best New Artist, a charting record on the Billboard Hot 100, to drawing comparisons to Frank Ocean and Prince, and amassing a cult-like fan base that has latched onto his songwriting, personality, and entertaining showmanship, has all been a part of the story that is growing more and more every day. This is the rise of Omar Apollo. Every step of progress and or accomplishment is a testament to Apollo's consistency and persistence as an artist, and a testament to his belief that nothing gets done when he's comfortable, and that it takes a lot of work to become an overnight success.
You know, I feel like every artist just wants to be, like, you know, heard by as many people as you want, whether you like it or not. It's like, you know, whatever the ceiling is or whatever it is, like, let's just go for it.
The story of Omar Apollo starts in Indiana, and for some, his origins may appear desolate, but to others, growing up down the street from the great Michael Jackson means something. So it's only right he had a rich cultural background full of influences that range from funk, alternative, R&B and pop, Mexican folk ballet, as well as mariachi. Having eclectic inspirations such as Neil Young, Aretha Franklin, Sade, The Strokes, Prince, Lauryn Hill, and Joni Mitchell certainly helped his taste as well. How Apollo breaks down music has a lot to do with his musical family and upbringing in the church. The combination of his love for attention and the reaction he would receive from friends and family inevitably led him down a path of an aspiring recording artist at 17 years old.
When did you start making music, and like how has it been since then?
Started making music 2016, I feel like. I was like a senior in high school. And I would just like, I was 17, and I remember I was just like, oh, I want to put out a song while I'm 17 so I can have a song out and say like, oh, I put this out when I was 17.
He even tells a funny story about not having enough money for a microphone to record his first song. It's funny how things have changed since then. If you're a creative of any kind, you can imagine how challenging it may be to tell your family that you want to pursue a career in music.
You know, they come here for me to have a better life and, you know, get an education and do that. So there was that pressure of, you know, it's like, oh, like, you know, to be successful or to help out the family, like, you know, when you're older and I don't know, create generational wealth or whatever.
Apollo recalls how his family reacted and also stated how it didn't deter him from chasing his passion.
How did your family react to that?
Oh my God. They was on some bullshit. But I didn't care though. I was like, whatever.
Apollo then went on to experiment until he found his voice and sound by trial and error and by studying other artists' works.
I kind of knew that my music wasn't good. Like I knew, like at first, like, I was like, oh, this isn't good, but I'm gonna get good because I understand it more and more every day. Because I always compared myself to like what I liked.
Apollo's focus is the music making process first and foremost. But as a rising musician, he also had in mind that the craft of performing was also important. Before being able to have sold out tours with thousands in attendance, he had to first start at college house parties.
They took it really well. Some of them were singing the lyrics because of SoundCloud and stuff. They like knew some of the songs. That was like our first experience with the show. So it was like, this is cool. Like, we like this, you know? But then like you go into like, you do like, you know, the heavy metal gig and they're like, get off stage. Like just shit like that.
Apollo cites Chicago as an important part in his journey as an artist due to how he was able to build his craft, reach new fans, and connect with other musicians, which was necessary to add momentum to the foundation he was building in his home state of Indiana. Omar's direction as an artist can be traced back to what his family played in the household, as well as his upbringing in the church where he developed his taste and shaped his identity. As kids, we were all sponges and impressionable, and this is where Apollo first started to draw inspiration from his favorite musicians. His curiosity would eventually grow as he approached his adolescent years. While working at Guitar Center, he would study musicians that came into the store. He would eventually learn how to play bass guitar by studying YouTube videos and asking questions at his job. that would later lead Apollo towards buying a bass, which inevitably provided him with the skill set to make his own production and further carve out a sound.
At what point did you start to produce?
2016.
Okay. And what drove you into that?
I bought a bass, and that made me like kind of figure out about the rhythm section, which is like bass and drums. And that's when like beats started to make sense.
Although his music recording career started at the age of 17, he remembers the first song he wrote when he was just 11 years old.
Mom was always working, and so was my dad, so I like kind of wrote a song about like them never being home when I was like 11. It's really sad.
I always find it fascinating how the minute details in a person's upbringing directly impacts the route they eventually embark on. When Apollo first started, he says that he was initially drawn to melodies and sounds, and that he wasn't that much into words at the time. And as he grew, words began to matter to him. Apollo stated that he didn't want to learn too much theory because it felt it might stifle his creativity. I think one of the things that I think about the most when I think about an artist is how courageous they must be and how confident they must be to share their art with the world and take everything else that comes with it. And some have a deeper relationship with the art form that makes everything else come as second nature to them. In Omar's case, it's a combination of both. Apollo explains that it was his love for the attention that he got while dancing and his love for performing that he gravitated towards. It's about the feeling he gets and how comfortable and natural it comes to him to be able to uncover deeper feelings while writing music. And it's almost therapeutic to him in the way that he's able to uncover subconscious traumas through writing. And he's no stranger to the ups and downs he's faced as an artist, and at times this journey has been very lonely for him. Many times the people that were closest to him weren't as understanding of his career path as he would have liked, but it never stopped him.
You knew you were going to get really good.
Yeah.
How'd you know?
I picked up a guitar when I was 12 and learned how to play it like very quickly. I like caught on after a while. I caught on really quick. And I was like, oh, like you have to practice to get better. Like it's not like people are just like born, able to sing or born able to, build a building and be an architect. Like you have to like go and actually apply yourself.
Performing certain songs gives him the opportunity to either process or relive certain emotions when he wrote the record.
The songs definitely have new life when I perform them, and they bring out a new feeling every time I get to sing them and see reactions and like see people crying and whatnot. But that's just, that's the song never stops. It never stops changing.
Apollo's writing and music are both inspired by tones and atmospheres. Color is something that is very important to him. Everything he does with his creative direction has some sort of color to it, and every sound has a theme. For Apollo, music is about honoring moments in real time. It all comes out in the music in a free-flowing creative process.
When I'm in the studio and I'm making music, it's just, there's no like rules or anything. It's just kind of like how I'm feeling. At the end of the day, it's just, when you play something, it's just literally like, that's how I'm feeling. Like this is sonically, this is what I feel like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then you just play it and it's just like, that's just how I'm feeling. Like there's no other like explanation. I have like no clue how it happens, but it's like super fun all the time. Because otherwise you start getting too serious. It's like you start doing too much. It's just not fun anymore.
You Got Me was the first song that Apollo uploaded to Spotify that generated some momentum for him. A record that he also cites as one of the first records that he remembers being proud of. I always love to hear an artist recalling the moment when a song essentially changed their life in some way, or at least one of those first big stepping stone moments for them. That moment that serves as the confirmation that they are on the right path. And Apollo remembers that at the time he didn't feel any pressure, and there wasn't any strategy involved with this record. All of it was organic. And you will notice how different this process was for Apollo compared to the next big career milestone for him when Evergreen blew up. This time, this strategy was a bit different for this record. And Apollo remembers that he tried to make the song go viral on TikTok, but it didn't catch at first for him. Saying verbatim, yeah, they wasn't fucking with me. In fact, the next moment that would kick off a new career milestone and chapter in Omar Apollo's career is something an artist can rarely calculate. Someone else, not Omar, made a TikTok with the bridge of Evergreen, and the rest was history. Of course, the moment that specific person shared a TikTok translated very differently, but it was the essence of the song that many people felt they can relate to. A moment in Apollo's life that was so personal to him ended up being the connector point for millions of others that felt they can relate to the message and the feeling of Evergreen. And to have millions of people connect with that emotion, it's beautiful.
Can you talk to me broadly about where that song came from?
Well, the song is about being in love with this boy who fell in love with this girl, and then that kind of happening in front of me.
It was only a matter of time for the success to catch up to Omar's talent, and soon many would recognize his artistic capabilities. This includes producer extraordinaire Kenny Beats, and a stamp of approval from none other than the iconic Pharrell Williams.
I had gotten a call that like Pharrell was down to work, so like, you got to come to Miami. I was like, cool, I'm gonna go to Miami. Wow. So I go to I get to Miami, I get into the house, and like Pharrell walks in. You know, he just sits down, makes a beat in like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and he said, "You like it?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like I was so nervous that I couldn't even really like, you know, process if I did was good or not.
In the years of 2018 and 2019, Omar Apollo released Stereo and Friends, which would serve as an introduction to his audience and ones that would eventually fall in love with his sound. This is a period in time where he first started to draw a lot of comparisons to Frank Ocean and Prince, and by no means were these bad comparisons at all. It more so was an eye-opener into the brilliance of his art. And I love the modern interpretation that he provides to the funk sound, and how the writing and the sonic landscape of the projects contained sticky, euphoric, eccentric, and warm melodies. It was alternative and pop-leaning, acoustic, and the fact that he blended in Spanish and English together painted a very unique sonic canvas. Apollo noted that Prince's vocal style often resides in his falsetto vocal range, and it gave Apollo the confidence to deliver his records in the same range during a time when he was not yet confident in delivering records in his lower register. The bulk of this album was recorded in the dreaded period we all remember as quarantine. According to Apple Music, Apollo says that every song I made during quarantine is really new, even to me. It's new to my ears. It's a lot of shit that I've always wanted to tap into. He says flows, melodies, and harmonies, the people I've always wanted to work with. And what I love about this album is that it's very genre bending. You have your funk, your taste of R&B, and also the genre that many people would label as bedroom pop. He took his time, challenged himself, and put together a body of work that he himself would enjoy as a listener. Apollo says how he studies albums is by putting songs together from a bunch of artists and compiling them to make what he would define as the perfect album. That time that he spent in the attic is where he would be taught the greatest lesson of self-discovery and experimentation. The range and sounds he was able to come up with and how he would become a better top-line writer and stronger singer could only happen with patience and by trusting the process.
Do you want me to see